Taiwan condemns China's latest military exercises around the country. A deeper look at what the drills mean for Taiwan and how it's responding. Taiwan's ongoing drought hits tourist sites. Plus, a theater arts festival celebrates local performing arts with international curators. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. On Monday, Taiwan tracked 70 Chinese aircraft and Navy vessels operating around Taiwan. 35 aircraft breached the median line of the Taiwan Strait and entered the country's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This comes as China ramps up its military exercises after Tsai met with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Bing Wang reports.
你现在已经严重破坏地域和平、稳定及安全，请你立刻转向驶离。
In this video from Taiwan's Coast Guard, a tense exchange between them and a Chinese military vessel. This comes amid a 3-day military exercise announced by China that began on Saturday. Beijing has dubbed the drill the Joint Sword. It involves air, land, and sea forces encircling Taiwan. China is flexing his military muscle after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen and U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy held high-level talks in California last week. Beijing warned there would be consequences if Tsai were to meet McCarthy. Beijing sees the meeting as Taiwan asserting its independence. China considers Taiwan as part of its own territory, even though the Communist Party has never ruled over Taiwan.
I think for China, it's a propaganda piece for their internal population to say, look, we are countering encroachment by secessionist forces on Taiwan, partnering with outside actors, in this case, the United States.
Taiwan's defense ministry says they are increasing their combat readiness in case of escalation.
PLA's recent harassment with their assets has destabilized the region. This time, President Tsai's visit became their excuse to conduct exercises, and their actions have severely jeopardized the security of the surrounding region.
It's the second time in 8 months that Chinese forces are conducting large-scale exercises. In August last year, Nancy Pelosi, then Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, visited Taiwan, prompting China to launch live-fire exercises around Taiwan.
中国围台军演 那么只会让全世界看到，他是和平的破坏者，维护台海的和平跟稳定，确保台湾的安全，这是全世界民主国家的共同利益。
But despite the military posturing, on the streets of Taipei, life goes on.
当然，现在也不完全觉得这次的演习就会对我们有安全上的疑虑，或者是，可是其实他们做的每一个动作都是在 push 这个界限，
照样子去做，不用害怕。对啊，因为我们有台积电，对，然后还有美国的保护，对啊。
Taiwanese tech firm TSMC is the world's largest producer of semiconductors, and global reliance on the country's chip industry is seen to protect it from overt Chinese aggression. But it hasn't dissuaded China from continued acts of intimidation.
It may not feel tangible right now, but tensions between Taipei and Beijing are at its highest. And without some political breakthrough, officials fear there could be a change to the status quo. Andy Xue and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
For more on China's military exercises around Taiwan, our reporter Jaime Okan spoke to Brian Hart, a security analyst with the China Power Project in Washington, D.C.
What have we seen in terms of a Chinese military reaction to Tsai and McCarthy meeting?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things to look at that we had in August was we could physically see the zones that the PLA laid out for their military activity. One of the interesting things about this time around is the PLA hasn't released quite as much information about where exactly they're operating. And they've broadly talked about encircling the island. I would say one of the things we haven't seen yet is the firing of the ballistic missiles over the island of Taiwan by the PLA rocket force. That was a major escalatory move in August, and something that got a lot of attention. So far, we haven't seen that yet. What we've seen so far has been more simulated strikes. So in that sense, so far, maybe it's not quite as escalatory. But I would caution everyone to keep in mind this is still early on in this process.
China says that these drills are aimed at encircling the island and sort of performing a blockade operation. What does this mean, and what are we actually seeing?
So I think, in the kind of contingencies that the PLA may have planned for something like this, a blockade would certainly be under consideration, I think, depending on, what the political objectives were in Beijing. And so I think part of these demonstrations this week are aimed at showing the different capabilities that the PLA has, whether that's to engage in something like a large kinetic blockade, or whether that's potentially to focus more on large-scale strikes on key targets on the island. So there's a lot of what the PLA is trying to do here to show kind of a diversified kind of portfolio of capabilities.
What can Taiwan do in terms of defending against this sort of aggression?
I think it's really important not to miss the bigger picture, which is what these kinds of exercises might do beyond this week or this month. And so one of the things that we saw from August was it really normalized a lot of high-profile kind of escalatory activity by the PLA, crossings of the Taiwan Strait median line. That was really normalized after the August 2022 exercises. And so I think China here is going to again try to push things further, maybe not in the exact same ways that they did in August, but I think that they're going to try to leverage this and exploit this as an opportunity to push things further in their favor and to normalize some of the activities that they want to see. I think one of the things that they may be trying to normalize is some of this more inspection activities, inspecting ships in the Taiwan Strait and trying to assert China's control over some of the maritime traffic in the Taiwan Strait. So I think long-term, that's something that worries me. And so, as people watch this week, I would just say to keep in mind the long-term potential ramifications of this.
That was Brian Hart from the China Power Project speaking to our reporter Jaime Okan. Taiwan's military says it deployed advanced missiles defenses on Monday as Chinese warplanes entered the country's ADIZ. That incursion was part of the large-scale military exercises China is conducting around Taiwan. In response, Taiwan's armed forces mobilized and stationed anti-ship defense systems in the south of the island. The weapons included Xiongfeng 2 and 3 missiles, which are designed to attack enemy ships and are domestically produced. North Korea is not answering phone calls on a hotline that was established to prevent conflict with South Korea. The two countries usually hold calls twice a day between military officials to help avoid misunderstandings, but Pyongyang has not picked up the phone for 3 days. North Korea has responded angrily to South Korea's recent military drills held with the U.S., but Seoul blamed Pyongyang for escalating tensions with a series of ballistic missiles launches. It's not the first time that North Korea has abandoned the hotline. In August 2017, it left calls unanswered shortly before conducting a nuclear test. Drought conditions across Taiwan are taking a toll on tourism, as well as the water supply. From tour boats to scenic waterfalls, sites that are usually packed with visitors have recently seen crowds dwindle. And as John Van Tres reports, relief could be more than a month away.
Here at the Shimen Reservoir in northern Taiwan, there's muck everywhere you look. A historic dry spell has seen water levels fall below half of the normal levels. And for local tour boat operators, it means business has dried up too. They plan to stop running tours on Tuesday, as their boats have been getting stuck in the mud.
老天爷赏雨的话，水位大概到230公尺，我们才会再把码头拖回来。
The drought has also taken a toll on other sites. Here's a before and after view of the Songlong Rock Waterfall, one of the attractions in Nantou, central Taiwan. After months with little rain, it's now just a trickle, and the crowds appear to have left.
近日呢，偶有下雨，但雨势都不大，对瀑布呢及溪流的这个呢水势呢帮助并不多。
There's hope the upcoming rain season will bring some relief, but forecasters say it will still be several weeks before any significant improvement.
整个环境要有利于降雨的条件哦，目前初步的资料看起来应该是要到5月25、26号之后。
Meaning the worst could still be ahead for Taiwan's water supply and the people whose livelihoods depend on it. Eason Pan and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Foxconn has announced a new investment in the southern city of Kaohsiung. The company, which makes Apple's iPhones, says it will invest around $820 million over the next 3 years. Foxconn says it plans to use the money to develop Kaohsiung's software industry. The company's founder, Terry Guo, recently announced that he will run for president in 2024. But the company says the new investment is not related to that news. More than 40 curators around the world have arrived in Taiwan on Sunday to participate in Taiwan Week, an art gala held by the National Theatre and Concert Hall. It's also the first in-person Taiwan Week that aims to provide an opportunity for local artists to connect with international curators. Yu Jinghuang was there at the opening ceremony.
A long-awaited celebration. More than 40 curators for renowned art festivals around the world made a toast at the first in-person Taiwan Week. The event is the National Theatre and Concert Hall's latest effort to push the country's performing arts onto an international stage. It was first organized in 2021, but had to be held virtually because of the COVID pandemic.
因为疫情，因为战争，我想这几年来，人跟人之间的距离非常非常的遥远，人跟人之间的隔阂也非常的明显。可是我们是这样子期待，也这样子相信，唯有文化艺术，唯有表演艺术，可以让我们把这一些隔阂，把这些距离，再同时的消弭掉。
Taiwan is not the only country eager to resume a pre-pandemic vibrance. Representative of Festival D'Avignon has come to the event hoping to bring more Asian art pieces back to France, as diversity dwindled when borders were closed.
So I came to the Taiwan Week because I really want to know more artists and to get to know more the theater makers and choreographers of Taiwan. And I felt like this was a wonderful experience because I know very well the people that are organizing, and I really trust in their choice and their support to the artists of Taiwan.
Almost 20 art pieces discussing diverse societal issues in Taiwan are to be presented to the curators over 9 days. There's a dance performance led by choreographer Pularayang Pragalava that explores the indigenous identity of the Taiwan people. There's also Whale Island, a fable about the land and environment told with puppet art and traditional music. Pieces that dive into gender awareness and humanity's relationship with technology are also included. The organizers say they wanted to show the world how Taiwanese people actually live, beyond their imagination of a country alarmed by China's military drills.
台湾是少数在亚洲极为自由的一个国家。就我们最骄傲的事情，常常都是在舞台上要发生什么事情，几乎都可以。那这个我们引以为傲。那也可能因为是这样的关系，所以我们在呈现的那个作品的面向上，常常就会非常不设限制，各式各样的都有这样。
The limit, according to the organizers, will only be in the format of performances. All of the works presented are easily transportable, so they can bring a deeper understanding of Taiwan to the world. Damon Lin, Biqi Zhang, and Yu Jinghuang for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan Week, a festival of theater arts, is in full swing. One of its featured plays combines images with circus arts. Yvonne Yang went to learn more.
Steady breaths, slowly falling into sleep. Welcome to the realm of dreams. This is Dreams and Shadows, a collaboration between Riverbed Theater and Formosa Circus Art, or FOCA. Riverbed is known for its image theater style, using still images to represent abstract ideas, while FOCA is Taiwan's premier circus troupe. Director Craig Quintero explained how the two combined to take the audience beyond the waking world.
Dreams and Shadows, it's really about this exploration about, what are the possibilities of this other world? This sort of dream logic where we're not bound to, like, I stand on the ground and my feet are here, but, I can lift into the air. And so with the circus performers, their physicality, it really giving us a lot of different potential ways of exploring what's sort of beyond these limitations of the everyday.
Coordinating the two groups was also a challenge.
但在过往他们在做这种杂耍的组合练习表演的时候，其实他们注重的是彼此之间的默契，很像心中有一个谱去完成那个谱里面的每一个准确的指令，在准确的 timing 里面。但是在这次导演的安排里面，他们反而是大家都在做不一样的事情，但是你要看起来在同一样的氛围里面。
The director says the show is meant to be like a mirror, reflecting the audience's personal experiences. This way, each viewer can have their own interpretation of its meaning.
So when you look at a mirror, you don't look at it to see a wooden frame and to look at the reflective glass. You look at it to see yourself.
So what exactly is Dreams and Shadows about? Audiences will have to see for themselves. Leon Lian and Yvonne Yang for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, who let the dogs out? Find out after the break.
I think it's inaccurate to say the U.S. is primarily or largely interested in defending Taiwan because of semiconductors. I think there's interests, I think there are values, I think there's a lot at stake.
Why are semiconductors at the center of the U.S.-China rivalry? Will Washington's $50 billion CHIPS Act work? And is Taiwan's Silicon Shield under threat?
How did the U.S. manage to lose being that leader in manufacturing?
Join Chips War author Chris Miller for a compelling conversation about geopolitics and semiconductors.
If you look at the key policy that's driving discussion about security and supply chain resiliency is China's military buildup. How rapidly can we really reestablish the level of deterrence that we need to take this question off the table?
See the world through a new lens with TaiwanPlus.
I'm Leslie Liao in Cayo, Belize, and this is TaiwanPlus News, the voice of freedom in Asia.
At a time when the world feels more divided, a platform for diverse voices to come together. I'm Divya Gopalan. Join the dots. Be part of the conversation. Connected where opinions matter.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Two of China's most prominent human rights activists have received lengthy prison sentences for subversion of state power. Xu Zhiyong, a lawyer and the founder of the Open Constitution Initiative, was sentenced to 14 years in prison on Monday. Fellow lawyer and activist Ding Jiaxi was also sentenced to 12 years imprisonment. Both had been detained by Chinese authorities for several years prior to their sentencing. Outside of China, the lawyers have been widely praised for their human rights work. Following Monday's verdict, international NGO Human Rights Watch called on China to scrap the sentences of the two activists. China is offering Taiwan a panda. This follows the death last year of one of Taipei Zoo's adult pandas, Tuan Tuan. Taipei Mayor Jiang Wan-an welcomed the gesture.
不管是城市跟城市之间的交流，或是动物园，我们能够再多一只熊猫，都是很好的事情。当然，我们事前也必须要请包括动物园，还有我们两岸事务小组来做全面的了解。
The last time China gifted Taiwan a panda was in 2008. That was after the more China-friendly former President Ma Ying-jeou was elected for the first time. But officials from both of Taiwan's major parties are still wary of China's latest offer. Some have called for Jiang to reject it, especially as China continues its military aggression towards Taiwan. 2 people have been killed and several are still missing after an explosion in southern France destroyed 2 buildings and partially flattened a third. The explosion occurred in the southern port city of Marseille early Sunday morning. French authorities said 6 people were still unaccounted for. The collapse caused a fire within the rubble, hampering rescue efforts. 5 people were taken to the hospital with injuries, and 30 other buildings in the area were evacuated. The cause of the explosion is currently unknown, but authorities suspect a gas leak. Taiwanese badminton star Tai Tzu-ying has announced that she plans to retire by the end of next year after the Paris Olympics. Our reporter Sandy Chi has the details.
After more than 2 decades in the sport, a badminton legend will finally be hanging up her racket. On Saturday, top Taiwanese badminton star Tai Tzu-ying said she would be retiring by the end of 2024. Tai said that even if she could still play, at this point she wants to rest.
我们一直都很尊重他的想法，但很辛苦。他从小那个7岁已经打到现在快30岁，体力上也无法再高度的训练。
Tai first claimed the title of world's best women's singles player in 2016, the first Taiwanese woman to ever secure the #1 ranking. She gone on to achieve that ranking 6 times in total, holding the title for a record 214 weeks. In 2020, she bagged a silver at the Tokyo Olympics in the women's singles competition, one of the many medals she earned throughout her career. Tai's final outing is set to be at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. She says she'll savor each moment on the court as she prepares for her final tournaments. Kaohsiung and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Tuesday is International Pet Day. Ahead of that, the Taipei Metro went to the dogs, at least for one ride. Our reporter Irene Wu has more.
Public transport is very convenient in Taipei. The city's metro system, known as the MRT, runs everywhere and even extends into nearby New Taipei and Taoyuan. But for pet owners, it's not quite as convenient. Normally, pets are only allowed on the MRT if they are in a stroller or carrier like this one, but not today. The MRT held a special event on Sunday. Pets were allowed out of their carriers so they could enjoy a ride together with their owners.
因为我想今天我们捷运的乘客很不一样，等一下会看到很多我们非常喜爱、非常贴心的毛孩子。 还有很多的毛爸毛妈一起搭乘我们的捷运专用车厢。
Of course, fur parents had to sign up for the event first. All 42 spots were claimed in just 18 minutes.
一起跟这些宠物的妈妈朋友们，还有这些宠物的宝贝孩子们，可以一起互动，我觉得是一件很让人家快乐的事情。
平常都是坐在笼子里面，可以让他体验这个活动，就还不错。希望以后可以常有。
During the ride, cats and dogs were separated into different carts. There were also pet trainers on board to make sure the animals were all okay. The event was part of Taipei's efforts to become a more animal-friendly city. But some people are not too keen on the idea.
毕竟还有公德心存在问题，可能有些主人对于他们的宠物的控管可能会不是那么的好，像是可能或许会发生咬伤的问题，或者是攻击到人的问题。
我没有很支持让宠物就是离开它的笼子，因为我觉得会造成一些混乱之类的。对，可能在街上，就可能狗会想找其他人玩啊，或者还有掉毛的问题啊。
Animal rights and pet-friendly spaces are growing issues in Taipei. There are 210,000 pet dogs and cats in the city, which means there is at least 1 in every 4 households.
我们希望能够向下扎根，同时融入日常的生活当中。其实，对待动物的态度跟行为， 展现一个城市是否能成为令人骄傲、伟大的文明城市。
Sunday's rides were just a trial, but as the number of pets keeps growing, Taipei is looking for ways to make all of its residents feel at home. Rick E., Sandy Chi, and Irene Wu for TaiwanPlus.
Christians around the world celebrated Easter Sunday this past weekend. One historic village in southern Portugal does it like nowhere else. This is the Flower Torch Festival held every year in São Brás de Alportal. The festival was once popular throughout the region, but is now unique to the town of over 10,000 residents. The local council says it takes a week of preparations to gather all the flowers. These are then laid out in intricate patterns through the ancient streets to mark the path of the processions. Local men compete to make the most beautiful flower torches, which they carry through the streets as they chant hymns. The day is capped with music, food, and a craft fair in a courtyard outside the main church. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we'll leave you with images of sand sculptures featuring Christian stories in Bolivia. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.